Okay.
This meeting is being recorded.
I'm gonna kick this thing off and let's go with it. I'm on the call today with Steve Sands, and just to give everybody a little bit of background. So me and Steve met late in 24. I think it was September 24 when we went to a thing called Rise Up Kings out in Dallas, Texas. And me and him actually met the morning of the event. We literally were in and just kind of hanging out that day.
Not knowing what to expect.
Yeah. And he just walks up to me, and I'm just sitting there just minding my own business. And he walks up and we kick off the conversation. And man, we've just been buddies and talking ever since. And so yeah, it's just been a wild ride. That was a really cool 2.5 days. And Steve, I'm gonna let Steve tell you a little bit about him, but he's a farmer, and this dude works more than anybody I've ever known. I mean, I thought I knew some people that work. This guy is on another level of insanity, and he literally starts like 3 a.m. He goes till 7, 8, 9 at night every day. He's over 60 years old, still goes to the gym, and works out almost every day. Still looks like a 45-year-old that's got the physique of an amateur bodybuilder, And so, Steve, tell us a little bit about you and tell us a little bit about what you do.
Yeah, well, thanks, Chris. One of 11. I had 8 brothers and 2 sisters. Grew up on a farm. 8th generation is on the ground, and we turned 180 years old this year as a family farm. Farm with an older brother, younger brother, and then each one of our youngest sons. So pigs, we run about 18,000 on feed all the time. We got 2 feedlots full of cattle. Very diversified. I think we talked about that the other day, Chris, the importance of the diversity. Grain, corn, soybeans, wheat. Here in north central Indiana, we run about 1,200 acres of hay. So, when they say cash flow, that's a happy word, especially when it's positive. There's times. So we're always looking for different avenues within the operation to be able to expand on the brand. So we run 3 different brands, the Sands Farms, and then back in the day, I've got a barbecue business called Big Boss Barbecue. And then on the cattle side, it's called Cuts of 1846. So that's our family farm. And mom and dad were married, I think, 65 years before dad passed away. And mom's 96, still cooks lunch for us, just came from there. She still cooks lunch for the 6 of us about every day. And it's hard to beat out on that. But I've got a nephew that is, I think, 35, and then another nephew is 25, and then my son Caleb's 23. So each one of our youngest sons works with us also. And so between those 3 brands, that keeps us pretty busy on a daily basis.
That's so cool. So if y'all heard him, so there's 8 generations now. So it's over 100-year-old family farm. And so, Steve, what's one of the things, man, if you could, and I want everybody to realize, like, the barbecue company he owns is something he does on his own, right? That's not part of the farm. It's something he has a business outside of the business that he grew up doing, and that business does well. Like, he literally on one Saturday makes, $7,000-8,000 on a Saturday cooking on the street corner. Like, it's a big deal. And that's more than some of the companies going to watch this video. That's more than some of them make in a whole week. Steve's doing that on a Saturday selling. Now, I know he's prepping all week and he's doing all that, but I want you to talk to us about how y'all build your team, your structure of your farm, because 8 generations, that's a big deal. Like, you're doing something right where people hang out and they don't just quit and leave the farm and go, do their own thing. So walk us through that.
Well, the biggest thing, you and I touched on it in the past, Chris, really kind of runs parallel to each other. We got to check our egos, and you got to check your attitudes. Especially working with family. We've heard so many stories, and I think anybody that's listening to that, they have their own stories about family businesses and working together and blending personalities and hey, I work more than him. It's like, you know what? Um, there's a five-letter word that we use. It's just called the grind. And when you think about there's 2% of us, I think it's less than that now that feed the world. So the family farms were under attack all the times, and with regulations, this and that, and especially with the amount of work that we have to do. But there's got to be a desire, Chris, that's saying,
Yeah.
hey, we're going to work together and make this thing work. And it's all about the next generation.
Yeah, I love it. Well, give people a little bit of an idea of how big your farm is, because I don't want people to think, well, this guy's just, he's got a little family farm and he's doing the thing, but he can't relate to me, right? So give people an idea so they can understand how massive this thing really is.
Yeah, well, we got 18,000 pigs on the feed all the time, like I said. Um, uh, that alone is uh, enough for one one person. But and 2 feet lots full of cattle. Plus, we run about 5,000 acres of row crop, so we're 2,500 acres of beans, and then about that of corn, and then we're 400 acres of hay times three. So we've got. It's just a grind, man. And you just, the organization that it takes and the communication, Chris, that's something big. And say, well, I thought you was going to do this. Well, there ain't no thinking, buddy, because you know what? The pigs, especially during COVID, they didn't know we had COVID.
Right.
These mama sows, they were still going to have pigs. That didn't, other than back the farmer up, saying, what are we going to do with all these babies now? When they shut the processing plants down, it's like, dude, people got to still eat. But buying back the product that we raise, that's what's kind of cool. So that's how I incorporate on the barbecue side, that farm to fork, squeal to meal. And so in the morning hours, from like 4 to 9 o'clock in the morning, I could show somebody how I can turn 5 hours into 400,000 in sales.
I love it.
Anyway, so that's what I do as far as our barbecue. And then I get all that prepped. But they can see what we do at bigbossbarbecue.com. But when we need help, that's the biggest thing. Checking egos, checking the pride, and saying, you know what, that and attitudes. That's how we make things work out here for us, and have good teachers. My dad, taught school for 40 years, raised 11 of us, and farmed. And when he said we're going to go do this, if not, we got a boot upside our head or our butt or somewhere. So the discipline, I guess, too,
Yeah.
Chris, is the grind takes a lot of discipline.
That's cool. So we all experienced this. So I just want to get your take on it. What mistake did you make that taught you the most in either business, the farming or the barbecue? What mistake did you make the most or did you make that taught you the most important lesson?
Well, I can let whoever gets to watch this. Like, I didn't get any of the questions either, but you didn't.
No, he didn't get any of these questions at all.
I tell you, probably the biggest thing is if you get behind, and I always tell them, you guys got to show up first. But if you don't show up, you put everybody behind, regardless of where you're at, whether it's your individual, you're procrastinating, or I just don't feel like it. You know what? That time thing for me, Chris, was the biggest thing. Keep time on my side. When I set the alarm, it's like, and then the night before, if I didn't make my schedule out, when I woke up, I said, man, I'm ahead of it already, and have my coffee already in the pot. And all you do is just press the button. So that preparation was probably the biggest thing, is that if I didn't prep, man, that is going to cause me a lot of problems. Then you're just scattered the
Yeah.
rest of the day. And that for me was probably the biggest lesson. It's like, you know what? If we're going to serve this amount of people, we're going to get this much done. And if we're going to be in the game, or you're on the sideline just coming in, being subbed every now and then, it's like, brother, and it's not going to work out here for that. And I think anybody in business can say that and saying, okay, come on, man, are you in or you're out?
Yeah.
So that wishy-washy stuff, that, you know, those when we got 5 or 6 tractors lined up and there's 7 of us, I mean, it's fun fighting over them. But when there's 5 or 6 of them lined up and there's only 3 of them, it's like, well, hey,
Yeah.
we're going to have to put some extra hours in.
Yeah. I love it. You know, it's like it's like me in what I do in speaking and training and coaching people. You know, a lot of the preparation that people don't see is what creates the victory when the lights actually turn on. You know, it's all the prep work. You know, you can't just wing it when you go and speak in front of 3,500 people. You got to do a lot of prep, a lot of rehearsal, a lot of practice, a lot of trial and error. And that's the same in your business. You gotta prep so that you can be praised when it goes right. Because
Well, accountability. I think that's what's kind of neat about having little teams around you, kind of like what you and I and Jimmy and Warren do. It's that accountability and
yeah,
saying, you know what, um, are you working out? You know, are you? But if you don't have that partnership,
right.
yeah, I've done we spend a lot of time by ourselves in tractors and combines, and
Yeah.
you know, it's like you say, your mind can play tricks on you. But I think the having the pad of paper, that organization, some of that skill kind of comes into play also. And I think people figure it out, say, man, I screwed up there. But you know, we stay on the positive, and but that organizational, the bigger you get, the more important that that prep becomes.
Well, let me ask you this. So I know your farm.
Especially in the restaurant business when
Oh
we're
yeah,
talking about consistency, or I mean catering, and if you tell somebody you're going to show up with 100 pork chops and we got beans and potato salad, and it's like that consistently every time. So yeah, I wanted to throw that was a little extra there.
no, that was good because yeah, in the restaurant business, your street corner is a big deal. Even when you get called to go to catering, the prep that you do in order for that to go right is
Yeah.
unbelievable.
Well, somebody says, well, why don't you get a building? I'm in a parking lot. I set up in a parking lot. So I mean, we deal with the elements that we deal with. Just from a weather standpoint, we don't know when we're saying, hey, we're going to be there. And I said, I've been doing this for 50 years. And somebody says, well, how many? I've got one brand there, and then took it nationally, and then we're on our second brand. But when you look at the elements and you don't have control in that, but it's like, you know what, I got to at least be consistent here, here, and here, and focused on the things that you can control. There's a lot of things that are out of our control, but the biggest thing is if we don't show up, you lose all control.
Yeah,
So everything else, whether it's you're consistent with the barbecue or the pork chops or the tenderloins or ribs or rib tips, that does not matter. So showing up for me is the biggest thing, and we do, and then the consistency just follows that.
that's so good, so good. Let me ask you this because I know your farm does multi-million dollars of revenue a year. That's not profit, but I know the farm generates multiple millions of revenue. So you're driving a rather large organization um, through business, right? That is just a fact. So there's people listening to this today that's nowhere near making even a half a million. Some people listening to this are probably not even at 6 figures yet in total revenue a year. What would you say they should focus on in their business? What would be the number one thing you would tell them to focus on in order to grow their revenue? What would they focus on? No matter what business it is, how could you tell them one thing to focus on?
Well, my daddy told me one thing. Well, a lot of things, but I mean, one thing really. He goes, Steve, here's how simple it is. Do what you do best. You know, I could cook a pig, and I mean, I've cooked pigs all over the United States, um, and find that team of people around you that's going to. So if you get scattered in that focus, man, it's hard catching up. And sometimes our business, are you either operating your business or is the business operating you?
Mm.
And at a certain point, it depends on so many questions. I ask myself, how big do I want to get? I just like, that's not up to me. I said, you know what, God, if I do the work, you're going to bless me, and then you're going to bring the people around me that I'm going to need for us, lawyers and accountants and prep people. But um, I think that, Chris, focusing in on when's the last time you even ask yourself, what do I really do good?
That's
And say,
good.
what's going to generate the most revenue for me? It's like, if I'm not there, is it going to cost me on a Saturday on a street? Yeah. If I'm not there, I don't do the street corner.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
but there's a lot of people that got these businesses that don't need them. But we're talking about a smaller size business that's saying, you know what? First of all, I got to show up. It's like, what am I really good at? And what can these other? So we're not, so many times I think we get caught up in micromanaging. It's like, dang, well, I need to be selling something.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
if you're talking about generating cash flow, and it's like, man, nothing happens unless there's a sale. So,
Well, that's a
then
fact.
those pork chops can sit on the grill all day long, but hey, let's show an example. I'll show them. You see me eat them, or a tenderloin.
Well, and it's no different in every business. So I build a business triangle with a lot of people that I coach and teach, and the triangle simply is this: you've got your lead generation, then you've got your lead conversion, and then you've got client fulfillment. So no different in your business. You've got to have leads that you're selling the hay to, a lead where people are needing pigs to buy. When COVID happened, you ran out of leads. Like grocery stores were shutting down. Like, who do you sell these pigs to? And then you've got to actually convert it into a paying client. And then you've got to fulfill what the client needs. And if you do that reciprocal and just keep doing it over and over and over and get really good at it, I really think you can grow any business in the world if you follow those three things. But I love what you said. It's so important. I hope people caught it. Do what your dad told you. Do what you do best. So if you're the sales guy, do it the best you can do it and hire a guy to run the tractor, right? Like if you're
Yeah.
the guy going and selling pigs at the markets and at the processors, you go do that. And you're the face. And Steve hadn't even alluded to all the things he does. He's also a model, which sounds wild for a guy, but he's kind of one of those burly models, with axes and hammers and the manly man, like the brawny paper towel guy. I mean, that's kind of who he reminds me of. But you're going to do that where some of the other people on your team, they could not fulfill that role, right? And you love doing it. Like,
Well, that I guess one thing I was blessed with was being a chameleon. So many times, you get that pump going, and then you can run over here, start another pump, and then you just come back and you tap that thing,
yeah,
keep pumping. But so many times we get ourselves so scattered, it's like, oh shoot, I got one over there, and then we're sitting there spending a lot of time priming that pump when somebody could be priming that. I've been a one man gig on my barbecue for a long, long time, and it's like, you know what? If I would bring somebody in part time that's really looking for something, so I guess those questions about really understanding myself and what I do well and what I'm best at, it's like, here, I'm going to give you these responsibilities and training. Um, that's so important when we're standing out here looking at 5,000 acres, planters, tractors, oil changes, semi-load truck. But here's a little, I'm going to throw this one in. When you got 4 million gallons of hog poop below the pigs, and saying, well, what are we going to do with all this fertilizer? So there's so many tentacles to that, but a lot of times the guys haven't sat down enough by themselves to break down that whole process that within their business. I can't cook chicken different than I can my pork chops. I got the different temperatures, different marination process. So when you start looking at saying, okay, I got ribs, rib tips, chicken, and now I got burgers. So that process for each, and if you're if you're not focused, you come in kind of, well, one of those kind of attitudes, but who's going to suffer? The customer.
The customer.
The customer's going to suffer. And you think you can make it up on the grill. Well, I can take some product that's not worth the darn and make enough corrections on the grill that I can make anything taste good. Well, when we start looking at cash flow, it's like, well, I can do this, but in the long term, what it affects, it may not be right now, but in the long term, when you're talking about overall, especially, when it comes, especially comes to food, that consistency, if somebody gets when we leave the ribs on the grill too long, burn them up. So I know I've jumped around a lot there, but so many times they don't focus in on each avenue of their business to say, hey, how can I, how will this affect my cash flow? How will this affect the different streams of revenue that we have coming in? And, we just pick up and go. And sometimes we're just learning on the way. And it is tough.
I love that, man. That's so good. I mean, it's almost, systematizing everything, and so that you put the right people in the right system, in the right seat on the bus, and everything goes better, So what would you give? What's one piece of advice you would give your younger self? How old are you? 60? How old are you? 64?
Yeah, I'll be 65 here in a couple days.
Okay, so almost 65 years old. He's still literally working 16 hours a day. He's got more energy than any person I've ever met in my life, literally. He's like an Energizer bunny. He's always happy and always smiling. I've never really seen you in a bad mood or down. And even when your barn, got tore apart, you were laughing about it. You were like, well, we just got to fix it. And so you've got a life of experiences. What would you, out of all the things you've learned and been through, what would you tell your 20-year-old self if you had the opportunity to go back and give them one piece of advice that would help them in their life, in their business, in their marriage, in whatever? What would you tell them that could give them the leverage to win in every facet of life?
Oh my word, that's so. I looking back now, what I was obsessed with personal development, and I've had a life coach for 35 years. And accountability, but I read 3, 4 books. I was just hungry, Chris. I was hungry, and that development was I had a certain belief in myself to say, no, I can do this.
Yeah.
And then having that pillar of spiritual belief. That was another. I just grew up a strong Christian, and knowing what God's word said, it's like, okay, you're either going to believe in yourself or you're not. You're either going to believe God's word or you're not. You're either going to believe this or you're not. So that for me, now looking back and saying that personal development, the one guy said, Sanji, you got enough confidence for 10 people. It's like, you know what? who says we can't do it? You know,
Yeah.
if you don't, there's somebody that's done what I think you want to do. Go ask them. You know, but have enough belief in yourself. I tell you, it's like, you know, the biggest thing I think this country lacks is um, men. Men that believe in themselves
Yeah.
and say that uh, for me, I've never had a problem for a long, long, long time. And I said, you know what, I can do this. If not, I'll figure it out. I'll ask. I'll read. You know, the information that people have today, especially a 20-year-old, you know, and all the technology. Chris, we didn't have that.
No, we didn't
I
have.
went to the library. I went to the library and with books. It's like, this is what I want to do.
I mean,
So,
I'm only 46, so I had more than you had, but
yeah,
we
I
had
think I'm
nowhere
old enough
near
to be
what
your
they
dad,
have now.
right? I'm old enough to be your dad. And it's like that. I think the most threatening thing to society also today is a confident man.
Yes. Yeah.
Is a confident man, and that's a shame.
Yeah.
Um, and it's, you know, I love that Michael Jackson, the Man in the Mirror. It's like, so every night when you're standing there, it's like, you know what, who am I? And
Mm.
my life coach asked me that a long time ago. He said, Steve, who are you? If you could write a one-liner, how would you describe yourself? You know, it's a passionate, you know, energetic. Yeah, it's like confident.
Yeah.
A lot of people can't say that. Um, but the guys that do and to understand yourself. I didn't know I was an alpha male. I didn't know what the hell it was. You know, but now we know the alpha females, we know the alpha males,
Yeah.
and
I love it too, because confidence is one of the distinguishing marks of
uh,
people that achieve things and people that don't. Like, confidence is the deciding factor. I truly believe that. You know, it's like I taught in my men's Bible study Sunday morning. I'm teaching on fear and anxiety and how God tells us to fear not. And God tells us to be bold, be men of courage, uh, you know, be men willing to go fight and get the victory. Like, all through scripture, you don't ever see God commending cowardice. He always recommends confidence. He always encourages lack of fear. Don't be fearful. Fear not. And so I think that's a huge thing. And in business, we face more discouragement, more self-limiting beliefs, more fear-based anxiety, because we're taking on something that a lot of people won't do, right? You know, to be a business owner is a huge endeavor to take. And so when men and women step into those roles, they've never experienced that amount of stress or that amount of pressure. And it creates fear that they've never experienced before. And so, what belief, this probably be our last question. And so, what belief about business did you once hold that now that you've done it, you you know was completely wrong? It could be any kind of
all of a
belief, you know.
sudden, these questions, like, oh, I know where he's going with this one. Keep on rolling. Yeah,
So,
I'm not going to finish your question. It had anything to do with trust?
okay, trust.
Yeah, yeah, and you know, was it trust and verify?
Oh yeah,
Uh, that, especially dealing with uh, the amount of different tentacles that we deal with on a daily basis. You know, we got a tractor sitting there. There's no fuel in it. You know, it's like, well, how come it ran out? Wait, did you look at the gauge? You know, a lot of just simple things that we take for granted. Well, I thought there was fuel. Well, I thought there was pork chops in the cooker. Well, there was bacon, and we burned it out. um, so to know, a lot of it's like, do you really know your business? Do you really know what you're doing? But I want you to finish that question, but it kind of tickled me. I said, man, that trust, um, that that's tough.
Yeah. Well, the question was, what belief did you have back in the day about business that now you know that was a completely wrong way to believe? Like that was completely not right.
Yeah. Um,
Trust was a good one though, because
Dude,
we trust
I
people.
tell you, I come back to that. It's like, man, and so many. Well, it's just that we were taught different generations. It's like because my daddy said, your word is your word, dude. You give somebody your handshake, and I was in a business dealing when a gentleman gave me his word, and um, it was really and written everything out. Um, So I and they didn't honor anything, Chris. So that trust and verify, um, it was still coming coming back to me. But I'll be honest with you, I lost a lot of respect for business owners that I said, man, I gave you my word. I mean, I'm going to show up. If I don't show up, I told you I was going to be there with the hog roast and going to feed you 200 people. What if I didn't show up?
Yeah.
And um, even today, I think that's what I appreciate about the Rise Up Kings guys and you being as a rock brother. I know when you say, Steve, I'm going to be there. That was a community of men that I was looking for, Chris. That had those four pillars: the faith, family, finance, fitness. I've been doing it for 50 years. Probably longer than that. Um, but thankfully, those men there at Rise of Kings put a structure together for people to follow that will be a crutch that you may not be good at, that you can lean on these other men, get directions, and I think that's what I appreciated about even my coach, my life coach. And I think I don't know, I probably surprised a lot of people. It's like, a lot of stuff I didn't tell them. It's like, I've had a life coach for 35 years, since 1989. Still with him. Had a conversation with him yesterday.
Wow.
And I think that's the importance of, I look back at the amount of money that I invested in that, but it's like, you know what? It's what I invested in myself. Where did I get the confidence? Where did I get the belief? Where did I get that accountability and get rid of the negative and get rid of the procrastination that brings business into stagnation, or just going, well, I want to grow. When you start talking to some of these guys, that's why they want to coach with you. I want to grow.
Yeah.
It's like, you know what, between convenience stores, car wash, Subway franchises, pizza franchises, um, there was things that I've done through my business acumen in the last 50 years, that dealing with people, that structure. But if you got employees or people around you in your team that are outgrowing you, it's like, you know what, dude, that ain't gonna happen.
Yeah.
Or I'll sell out. But I think that's the importance of guys like you that offer that uh, coaching accountability. Chris, we talk quite a bit, but I think it's like farming. There's 1% of us now, 1.5%, I think I said 2%, that feed the world.
Wow.
But if you're 1% or 2% or 3%ers that you're trying to find to be able to work with, just saying, you know what, Chris, you've made a difference in my life. I think you can make a difference in other guys' lives. Um, Give this guy a call, give Chris an opportunity to let him share some of his life experiences, his business that he's been in, and his experiences to be able to coach you and guide you. I think that more important today, that pillar of Christian men around you, or whatever kind of guys you wanted around you. But I chose that route that because I want to say I can get all God's blessings. It's like, you know what? I want to go get him. Let's get him. He says we can
Let's
have
go.
him.
Yeah. I love it, man. I love it. Well, Steve, thank you so much, man, for
Yeah.
jumping on the call with me today. I wanted to get you on this call to show people that everybody gets hung up on, well, you're not in my industry. Well, you don't know what we do. Man, a farmer has the exact same struggles an HVAC tech does and an electrician does in a hospital. It's business is business. And if business in the farming world, if you can win at the level you're winning, and you've done it for 108 years, I think is what you said. I know it's
180. 180.
180. So I know you're in 8, 9 generations of people, and you're figuring out, and you have figured out a way to grow a family business multiple generations, like it's generational wealth. Then that same strategy can apply to an HVAC company, an electrical company, a mom and pop produce stand, anything in the world. People can grow family businesses and win. And I wanted you to be on this podcast to show people you can win legitimately with your family and grow a legitimate family business that can last for generations. You just have to change your mindset. You have to change some of your skill set, and you have to surround yourself with people that want to win. It's that simple. And so, Steve, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Guys, if you're watching this podcast and you're still plugged in like Flynn right now, my name's Chris Johnson, and I own Chris Johnson Leadership Services, and I literally train, coach, and do public speaking all over the country and even in Canada. And I want to serve you. I want to walk alongside you. I'd love to have a conversation with you. I'd love to just hear your story and hear what some of your struggles and hurdles are. And if I can be of value to you and help you overcome those, I'd love to do that for you. I'd love to see you win, your family win, and leave a legacy for generations to come. And so thank you for watching this podcast. Like, subscribe it, and share it with somebody, because we're here to make an impact in the world. We'll see you.